Cedric Alexander, another name that was talked about this week, and not for all the most positive reasons. Cedric was on Busted Open Radio with Mark Henry, and he described his push. The word that Cedric used to describe his recent push on TV was scary. Well, after this week it sure is. It's kind of an appropriate word to use. He called it scary because of how unexpected it was. Came out of nowhere for him. He wasn't expecting it. The rumor this week, and I point out that that's all this is. The rumor this week is that Vince McMahon decided, it was a Vince McMahon call, to bury Cedric Alexander. For some unexplained reason. I love how these reports say that Vince wanted to bury him. They don't say why. Did he just get bored of him? Did Cedric, curse him out in the hallway? No explanation for why this is happening. Just that Vince McMahon ordered, or decreed, that Cedric Alexander be buried. There's that word. I love that word, right? There's that word again. And so hence, we have the loss on the kickoff show last Sunday, right? And again the next night on Raw with the OC beating Cedric and the Viking Raiders. I don't buy it. I don't buy that Vince McMahon told Paul Heyman, or he told the writers, thou shalt bury Cedric Alexander. Let alone that he would have used that word. That word gets thrown around way too much. Way too much. But they definitely cooled him off on purpose, and I'm not sure why. But there's a difference. The guy lost 2 matches. They cooled him off. When you use the word bury, it has a very different connotation. They're actively trying to suppress this guy's push, make him less over than he was before. They're trying to derail his push, derail his career. That's not what's going on here. But they did cool him off. Bumping his title match to the kickoff show, a place where I don't think AJ Styles has ever wrestled before. And then, after that, having AJ beat him clean in under 5 minutes, so they didn't even give them any time. That is proof enough that they intentionally cooled off Cedric Alexander this week. A burial, though, would be another 2, 3, 4 weeks of this, or even worse, not putting him on television at all. Because he's been getting more TV time on Raw than he has at any point in his career. Right? He went from 205 Live to showing up on Raw, but he wouldn't necessarily be on TV every week. Or he was kind of relegated to some of the, with the lower card guys doing lower card angles and stuff. And then, around the time that Paul Heyman supposedly was, kind of gaining more influence on the show as the executive director, all of a sudden Cedric is getting the biggest push of his career. It's not hard. You don't have to read a dirt sheet to put 2 and 2 together and see what's going on here. But then you see what happened this past week on Sunday and again on Monday, and it's like, okay, well, maybe they're pumping the brakes a little bit here on the Cedric Alexander push. But again, I caution people to not believe everything that you read. And when you hear about, well, this guy, Vince McMahon's going to bury this guy and he's going to bury that guy, take a step back. And what you have to do, and it applies here in this situation as well, the story will be told over the next few weeks. You can't tell the story in 1 week that so-and-so is being buried. It's 1 week. It's literally 2 nights out of a given week. How in the world are people going to declare all of a sudden that Cedric Alexander, after being pushed on television for a month or more, is now being buried? Here's another proposition for you. It could just be a case where they plan to move him off of Raw. You got a draft coming up. Maybe the idea is that they're going to move Cedric Alexander off of the Raw brand and move him to SmackDown. So if he's leaving, and they know he's leaving, maybe he doesn't know it, but if he is being drafted away from Raw, maybe the idea is that, hey, we can beat him. Again, I wouldn't have beaten him so decisively, but maybe the idea is just, hey, we can beat him and we'll just use it as a way for AJ to get strong, and who cares? It doesn't hurt Cedric, because in the end, he's going to go to SmackDown. It's going to be a fresh start, and we'll just push him on Fridays instead of on Mondays. That's why I wouldn't get too hung up on this whole notion that he's being buried.